spill to take away the light spill, it just reacts differently with the darks.
Right,
and it looks
that
more
is
realistic.
by far the best tip of this entire video. I'm keeping that one. In this video, I'll be chatting with Clinton Lofthouse and getting the inside scoop on the techniques he used to create this fiery fantasy piece in Photoshop. If you're new here, welcome. We're not your typical Photoshop channel. We specialise in photo manipulation, digital art and advanced Photoshop techniques. If that sounds like your kind of thing, be sure to like and subscribe as we put out new videos Monday to Friday. It's free, easy and really supports the channel. Let's roll the video. Enjoy. Hey gang, you're tuned in to Photoshop with Clinton and Dean, and today we'll be chatting about the techniques Clinton used to create this fiery fantasy piece. So get comfy, grab a coffee and enjoy the show. Hey Clinton, how's it going today?
Yeah, it's going good, man. Excited to get into this piece. See, at the minute we are going through the dreaded pen tool, or your favourite pen tool.
Yeah, I always squirm when I see you use a pen tool because you're definitely a little bit more cavalier with that than I am, mate.
Yeah. No, I've done it that many times now. I've done it enough. If I could pay someone just to do all the pen tooling on all my images, I would.
You never know, mate. One day that might come to fruition. But before we get into the meat and bones of this, can you just give the audience a heads up on what you were trying to create with this piece, what you was going for?
Yeah. Well, I got two stock images. This is the first of one, and it's the same woman. And this one, she's more of a warrior looking. She's got all like the I don't know, like animal fur on. And then in the second one, she's wearing a dress what looks like a queen's dress. So I'm actually going to do a second image to this series. So there's the one when she was the warrior. I was going to call the image the warrior who dreamed to be queen, and then the second image is when she's actually queen.
Oh, I like that title. Very nice. Very, very nice.
Yeah.
And is this a personal piece or a commercial piece? What was the kind of purpose of this?
A personal piece. I've been taking a little bit more time to try and get some personal work in, just to keep busy. Really, I think if you get stagnant, you start to lose the. I don't know, you lose the magic a little bit, so I'm just forcing myself to create a little bit more regularly than I have been.
If you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah, and I've been doing a lot of business stuff, which has been taking a lot of time up, so I've kind of made a little deal with myself to get some personal work in. Okay,
I'm going to stop you there for a second, mate, because you are using a tool that I never ever use. Do you have the most up-to-date, like modern version of Photoshop?
I do not, because usually when they update it, there's loads of glitches. So I think I am on 2019, maybe?
2019. And what is this? Because I think I'm on an even older version than that. What's this that I'm seeing happen here?
This is select a mask. So when you say there's no refine edge, that's where refine edge is hidden away.
Refine edge?
Edge, sorry.
It's alright, mate.
That my mum says that. I hope I'm not turning into my mother. So I think it must be a Yorkshire thing.
So this tool, how is it better? Is it worse than the refine edge that I'm using?
It's not great, as you can see. I have to come in and clean some of those selections up and paint some fur on. It works on specific image. If you've got a very high contrast image where the subject's very dark against a light background, it works really good, but when you're kind of in between, it's not great.
You used the pen tool to do the whole figure, and then you bounced into the refine edge and you kind of knocked out the background in one fell swoop. Like, it seemed very fast and efficient way to work.
Yeah, I mean, I usually do two selections like I know you do. For this one, to be fair, I was probably just being lazy. The cutting out process is boring for me nowadays. I just like to get into.
You can't argue with the results, though. I'm looking at that, and if there was anything heinous there, I'd be the first one to get on your back about it.
And I do go in and adjust and kind of painting hair and painting fur around the animal fur, but yeah, it does all right.
Okay, so on screen right now, you've got a crap load of tabs open, loads of Adobe stock elements. Can you tell me a little bit about what it's been like working with a Teams subscription for Adobe stock? How has that changed your workflow?
Yeah, it's amazing. I would say for me, it's best for building worlds and backgrounds and landscapes. For people, I'm finding it a little bit harder. I'm just very picky with the kind of
Well, here's the thing: you're a commercial photographer, and you shoot your own images, you shoot your own stocks. But for things like sparks or smoke or clouds,
oh yeah, for building backgrounds, it's amazing the quality of just the amount of images there is to build like a different world. I recently did a King Kong and Godzilla image, and I built the background up from about 18 different images. So yeah, it's amazing in that way. But yeah, I am kind of missing, obviously because of the pandemic, going out and shooting my own models. That is somewhat what is frustrating, but obviously
absolutely,
until
man.
Yeah, I'll deal with it.
I remember earlier in my career when I was doing book cover arts, and I had very, very low income. Like I couldn't afford to get premium stocks. And then when I eventually got a stock account, I had 10 premium images a month, which is all I could afford. And I had to ration those images out across all my commissions. I had to say, right, you're allowed one premium image per book cover, and then everything else you had to source and find. But I was spending so long online looking for those free elements that the price it would have cost me to get those premium stocks, I would have made my money back 10 times over. But you live and learn.
Yeah. No, it definitely does open up a lot of different opportunities, and just a higher quality images as well.
It's the higher quality and it's the speed. We're a few years in the game now. We're a bit long in the tooth, so we're in a position where we can access those premium stocks. But for those up and coming, newbies starting, you don't need to have premium stocks. It's just something to consider when you get to the next stage of your professional career, because it will save you time, and saving time ultimately is saving money. Isn't that right, Clinton?
Yeah. It's the more you kind of work in this industry, the more important your time is. Definitely. If someone's taking up your time, you need to either outsource it or find a quicker way of doing it.
Absolutely. Now, of all the contributors on the PM team, I think you're the one who has the workflow that's closest to mine. I watch your videos, and I would say about 80% of your workflow, 85%, is very similar to what I do. So when I look at someone like Redouane or Christian or Abby, it seems like a million miles away from what I'm used to. But when I watch your workflow, I can actually I relate to this. Yeah, that's kind of the way that I do it.
Yeah, I guess we're the old dogs. Some of these techniques what Redouane comes up with, I don't even know. He thinks them up sometimes.
I have been using Photoshop longer than he's been alive, and he's schooling us right now, and it's so annoying. Like that. Like I was using Photoshop in the mid to late 90s, and this kid's just wild. He's a child prodigy. It's annoying.
Yeah, I mean, I was a little bit later, but I guess he's coming at it from a different angle. He's coming at it from a digital painter angle.
Absolutely, he has a classic fine art training. That's what he's doing at college, and I don't know if he's at the university level, but I think that's what his edge is. He's treating Photoshop and the Photoshop workflow in the same way that a natural media artist would approach a digital painting. I mean, a classic painting or illustration. So I'm looking forward to learning lots from him this year. But a lot of my current workflow I've actually learned from your tutorials. Your tutorials are some of the only tutorials I've ever watched prior to launching this channel, which is mad.
Nice.
Yeah, I didn't watch or read tutorials when I was learning the craft of Photoshop, but the light spills, yep, I nixed that one.
Everyone likes a good old light spill. It's the Michael Bay effect. It's quite striking, but it can also, if you do too many, it can get a little bit transformery kind of Michael Bay style. But yeah, I don't know. It just kind of blends things into the image a lot better than when it's in light spills.
So for your elements here, the flames and sparks, can you tell the audience a bit about the layer blend modes that you're using for knocking out those blacks?
Yeah, so the overlays basically, like fire ones, you'll get the flame and it'll be on a black background. So basically when you bring that in, if you put that onto a screen blend mode, basically all it does is it erases anything darker than 50% grey and then keeps everything lighter than 50% grey. So all the black will disappear and only the light bits will remain. So then you get this not semi-transparent flame, which you can then just move around.
So
your image
that's
and
a
blend
classic go-to. Are there any other blend modes that you use for that kind of purpose, for flames and fire?
Well, you can not really. I would say screen.
So you're like me then. Screen is pretty much a go-to, isn't it, for that?
Yeah, I mean, I use soft light and overlay, but that's mainly for blending textures, not for blending flames.
What's going on with this hand here? What am I seeing here? What's going on the screen, mate?
So I was creating a char grilled hand.
Ah.
So in the fire, coming out of the fire is the rising hand of an opponent she's just defeated, and obviously.
Oh, I thought it was a bit of a drag me to hell vibe with the hell hands coming out of the fiery chasm.
I actually pinched some of these techniques from Abby Esparza's video on the where she did the girl's face.
Oh, okay.
What was being said. So I mean, we can link back to that video as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll get that on a card and in the description as well. Good shout. You got some classic layer mask action for the blending, soft edge brush. Oh look, what's this fancy stuff going on here?
But then I decided to kind of take some of the black away from the top of the fingers, so the flames haven't burnt all the way to the tips of the fingers.
Right, we're going to talk kit now, mate. Is this a bog standard tablet that you're using? Are you using a mouse? Are you using a Cintiq?
I use a Wacom Bamboo, and I've got a really big one called.
Oi, that's what she said.
But I've lost what. Oh yes, I've got a.
You got a really big one.
I've got a large Wacom.
Yeah, that sounds even worse.
I don't use that for some reason. I prefer the little bamboo, just because it's smaller. It fits onto my desk better. So the larger Wacom I stick in my backpack and I use when I'm traveling. The small bamboo I use for my day-to-day editing.
Okay, nearly every single thing you just said sounded like a double entendre then, so I'm going to try and keep it clean, keep it respectful. We don't want to lose our ad revenue, mate.
Got that English carry-on vibe going on.
Too much. So, the Wacom Bamboo, you have a larger model Wacom. You don't use it. You prefer to use the kind of nimble, smaller Wacom because it just fits your needs better.
Yeah, it just fits it just fits easier on my desk. Those big ones take up a lot of space.
Yeah. Okay. I'm seeing a bit of brush action going on here. Are these specialist brushes, or are they included with Photoshop?
This is just, I can't remember what brush this was. It was just included with Photoshop. So I decided, I didn't want the edges to be too uniform and straight.
So you're tapering off because that's quite a clinical pencil edge, and the hand, if it was charred, would have the edges degraded.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. I like that. Is there a blend mode for this stone over the hand, or is it just
I
processed?
That was no, I think I just used a clipping mask and clipped because it was already black anyway, so I clipped it to the hand and then just blended it away with a layer mask from the fingertips. And then now I placed all those layers into a group, and now I've added a layer mask to the group, and now I'm basically erasing and tapering from the group. So it erases all of it, not just a certain layer.
I've been watching all the other guys' videos because we're doing this project together, and I've noticed how many people don't use layer groups, how many people use exclusively clipping masks. And again, you're in a very similar camp to me. Is that my workflow is very layer group centric. As in, I use layer because clipping masks are good. I do use them a lot, but if you want to move layers between those clipping masks, they knock the clipping mask off. I don't know if you ever have that problem.
Yeah, sometimes. I think, I kind of got into a workflow now, so I tend to use clipping masks and groups, and I tend to, as it gets a bit busier, I will put things into groups and keep it tidier, just because it's easier to find a certain layer. And your clipping masks work in a hierarchy as well, so you can, if you want to affect some but not something else, you can just change your clipping masks around sometimes, and it'll affect different layers.
That's a little bit too high tech for my feeble brain to process, man. So give me a layer group, give me a selection mask, and just throw it all in the group and forget about it, man. But I am looking towards getting more futuristic. Watching all the fancy stuff being done on the channel, I'm like that. I've got to step my game up. I've got to get out of the Stone Age.
Yeah, this is kind of where I tried following Abby's now technique to put the burning ember parts in, and it didn't work.
Okay.
I guess it's because the brush wasn't correct.
So you've actually brought us to a really good point there, Clinton. Sorry to jump in, mate, but the thing that I really enjoy about the unfiltered raw workflow, this time-lapse process, is it keeps in all of the mistakes, the backtracking, the back and forth. You might try something and it's not right. You might try something and go, yeah, that's the one. But that's the true reflection of what a digital artist or photo manipulator's workflow really is. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of teach this in my when I do in-person workshops. I kind of say, don't be worried about getting things wrong, because there's a lot of tutorials where they make out they just kind of do it all in one big swoop, and it's no mistakes. It's all very easy. It all goes together, and it's never been like that. And now I've worked with kind of Photoshop instructors from around the world, and none of them have a perfect workflow. There's always experimentation.
Always.
Things go wrong. Like sometimes the amount of times I turn a layer off by accident, or I clicked the wrong tool by accident, and then I'm trying to work out how to turn that off. It happens on a daily basis. It's so I always tell them, don't try to be perfect. Just try to kind of get the hours in learning.
Right,
and
Clinton.
learn.
I've just seen something happen there. Did you change that hand to a smart object?
I did, yes.
Why did you do that?
Because I wanted to, because it's in the foreground, I wanted to blur it out to get a little bit of depth.
And for the audience and for me as well, because I never do this, why would you change it to a smart object?
That's just because when you used to blur things, you would blur it, and then once you blurred it, it was destructive. You couldn't go back and change it.
Yep.
And you change it to a smart object, you can just click on the Gaussian blur and readjust it so in real time, so it's always adjustable.
That's a really good shout. I personally never ever used that in my workflow. I know Abby's done a tutorial on it, but I've yet to do it myself. So yeah, the benefits of that is that it allows you to apply non-destructive filters. Is there other stuff that it lets you do?
And you can add more. All the filters you add will be like in a list underneath. So and you can go into any of them and change them at any point. Whereas back in the 5 years ago, maybe a little bit more.
Or me today.
Yeah. You use Gaussian blur. It was destructive, so you'd have to delete it all over again.
Do you know what I do? The old-fashioned way. I have a duplicate of the layer.
I'm scared to learn.
Literally, if I think I'm going to do something to that and I might want to revert, I'll just duplicate that layer and then hide that layer, do the thing. If it doesn't work out, I'll reactivate the old layer. Really low-tech way of approaching non-destructive editing.
We'll get you into the future at some point.
I really hope so. It looks fun. But it's cool. I don't mind being the resident Luddite.
There's always got to be one in the team.
Yeah, absolutely, but I'm happy to learn. I want to up my game. I want to get good, just like the audience watching today. You know, there's so much for me to learn. Like, I don't profess to be the expert. There are technicians and professional retouch artists and other people out there that know way more than me. But I think the edge that I have is that I come up with some quirky concepts from time to time, and bring something new to the table. But I love your cinematic work, and out of all the people that I've followed over the years, I've definitely processed, watched, and stolen your techniques more than anyone else's.
There'll be a check in the post.
Oh no, you stole my joke. I used that joke the other day with Christian Bensalan. But yeah, that's good. I look forward to that, mate. What's going on with this hair action?
Now what I've got a hairbrush, and now I'm going over the edges of this fur just to clean it up a little bit.
Is this
obviously
a free brush?
This brush was, I guess yeah. I mean, all my brushes are free, so yeah, it would have been free from DeviantArt probably.
Do you think you'll be able to remember where you got that from, so I can bung it in the description?
Probably not. I usually just type hairbrush into Google.
Okay, so for you guys watching today, if you would like a hairbrush, Clinton is saying there's some really good ones on DeviantArt. Type hairbrush into the search bar, and hopefully you should find something similar, if not the same one.
Or you can even type it into Google, and there's literally pages of free.
That's
free
excellent. Also, if any of these stock images take your fancy, we have the links for every single one. If you wanted to give this particular concept a try, or if there's one element in particular that you wanted, that brush looks really good. Wow, that's really good. Well, you can definitely just send it direct to me, can't you?
Yeah.
Now I'm going to get fancy and start using a tablet. Then yeah, I'm going to be joining the cool kids.
You're copying my techniques, you're copying the brush areas as well. That'll be an extra check in the post.
Oh, yep, definitely. Credit where it's due, mate. Do you get on top of that little bit of refine edge degradation on the left of her head?
Yeah, I paint some hairs in.
You paint some hairs in?
Yeah.
Oh, look.
As you can see now.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, see, I called it. We're on the same wavelength. Okay.
And then a little bit of blur and change the colours a little bit.
Is this brush from the same pack that you was referring to earlier?
No, the one earlier was a fur brush. This is a hairbrush.
Ah. See, for my recent Gothic makeover tutorial, I was nicking hair from stock images.
Yeah, refine edge, sometimes it works, a lot of time it doesn't, so you have to paint your own hair in and refine selections, but it's quite fun painting your own things in anyway.
I've got an inside pm.com inside scoop for you today, Clinton. This week, Matt Seth Barnes, our newest team member, is actually using Redowan's hair strand technique and creating an entire bundle that people can use for instantly bunging loose hair strands into any hair type. So I hope to have a bit more news about that later in the week. But yeah, it'll be a fast, instant method for replacing those edge strands, which should be fun. Useful thing, something that I personally need, because refine edge doesn't always do the job.
No, it's a pain in the ass.
Because you can see there's a little bit of motion blur on this photography, isn't there? Just the tiniest touch.
And that's one thing what I've noticed about photography, especially model photography. Being a photographer, as soon as I zoom in, I'm like, they've not focused on the right area. They've focused on maybe this piece of fur on the left hand side.
But shall I tell you something? Because this is a cinematic piece, the shot itself, if it's a still from a film, or is an action piece, it's a motion piece. It doesn't have to be clinical studio shot super sharp. It actually fits the vibe of this particular piece, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you can get away with it a little bit because when you watch cinema, kind of things go in and out of focus. But as a photographer, I'm just like...
Oh, you're going to see that. You're going to notice that for sure. I'm a bit particular with sharpness myself. Now, these are some of my favourite processing and colour grading tricks that I've seen you do. So you've got gradient maps. Sometimes you do a gradient map set to luminosity, like a black and white one, if I recall.
Yeah, that's for contrast. And then the gradient map and selective colour, I use them together to get that painterly colour grading look. So for this one, I added, I think it was reds into it, and then some red and blue into the
You put the reds into the what? The darks?
The darks, yeah, and selective color.
Yeah. Selective color's my favorite, but I've been watching your gradient map work with interest and thinking, so he does a black and white gradient map and sets it to luminosity. Interesting.
Yeah.
And it does. It adds a cinematic sheen to it.
Yeah, and it can also get a very painterly feel to it as well, because master painters, when they created blacks, they would use all the colors, so the black was never actually jet black. It was black with a bit of like red in or a bit of some other color in. So yeah, that's a little bit of art history for you.
Yeah, you do come out with some gems from time to time. I've definitely learnt a few bits from your videos that you did before pm.com and your video courses. And if anyone's interested in Clinton's approach to Hollywood processing, he's actually got a course out. I'll put a link to that in the description below. But it was from Clinton's course that I learnt a fair few of these tricks, especially the lighting stuff, because I'm still not great at lighting. I'm good at doing really weird, crazy, complex stuff, but I do want to get better. And Clinton's course really helps me out with that. So if you're interested, link below.
Yeah, that's some really good feedback as well from that, which it's always nice to see images, what people send you as well, what they've created by using your course, which is it's quite fulfilling actually.
Yeah, because you know you've had an impact. You've shared the info, you passed it on. Yeah. And yeah, there's approaches to working here that I haven't had. Lighting and fantasy, especially the fantasy stuff that Christian Benteland does. I've never really been able to get my head around that. I'm just a weirdo in the corner. But I do want to get better. I do want to learn, and that's why this project's been so good. Because
yeah, I mean, I'm
hanging out with you guys, I'm just. I said on the other video with Christian, I feel like Sylar, I think his name is, or whatever his name was, from Heroes, absorbing all the superpowers. Yeah. I like that what you did there. Can you just give us a heads up on what's going on there? So this is.
I'm just painting in some light here. So on a blank layer, set to linear dodge, I'll select the highlight and then I'll paint it over the right areas and I'll bleed it over the model. And then if you use fill with linear dodge to pull it back, it just has a, it takes
right.
the
Can you slow down a touch there? Because even I'm getting lost. Fill on what? The fill on the layer stack?
Yeah, so you got opacity or fill and you can use either, but fill works differently to opacity.
Yeah.
So if you use fill to take away the light spill, it just reacts differently with a dark.
Right,
it looks
that
more
is
realistic.
by far the best tip of this entire video. I'm keeping that one. And for the viewers as well, I noticed that your soft edge brush had a very low flow rate. Why is that?
In regards to what?
Why use flow and not use opacity on the brush control?
I never use opacity because when you use flow, it's more like using a pencil. You can just scribble and build up, whereas opacity, you've got to stroke, pull your pen up, stroke, pull your pen up to build it up. Whereas with flow, you can just scribble.
Oh yeah, and just to recall that you're actually using a Wacom tablet, and you know, for me, all these years using a mouse, it was opacity really. But I've only just started using flow myself, and of course, I'm going to start using a tablet this year. Get down with the cool kids, join the 21st century. So I look forward to having fun with that.
Yeah, I think you'll definitely prefer flow when you use your tablet than using opacity.
Right, Clintonymous, we're getting near the final stretch on this one now. Any final thoughts about, do you do any post-processing on this time-lapse at all? I think a global processing, should I say, where you do processing to a stamp. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I kind of tend to go and use a bit of a filter. So sometimes if I want to pull some detail out, I'll use Nik Blur Effects Pro 4 and I'll just use bleach bypass, and then with a low opacity I'll bring it up to like maybe 15-20%.
And for the audience, this is a standalone third-party plugin called Nik Collection.
Yeah.
And is that still available, or did they discontinue that?
No, actually, someone has started it back up again. I'm not
it
sure
is fantastic, isn't it? It's really good. The Neo
I mean,
stock.
2 filters on it, but yeah, it is good.
Yeah, the photographer Tom Parsons got me onto that, and I've never looked back. It gets a bit wacky sometimes. It'll crash the entire software.
Yeah.
But it's very
So,
good.
yeah,
Bleach bypass is probably my favourite. Oh, you got a high pass going there.
I just use the high pass for sharpening.
Yeah, it's a good shot.
Yeah.
Do you ever use
then I just
unsharp
went-
mask?
I used to do, but I think
Bit too heavy-handed.
I kind of prefer high pass filter. I mean, smart sharpen's the best, but it's hard to control exactly how you want it to look. Whereas high pass filter, I know what I'm getting, and I either use if I want a kind of normal sharpen, I put it on soft light, and if I want a quite not severe but a stronger sharpen, I'll put it on overlay.
Yeah, okay, Clinton, we're nearing the end of this one now, so thanks so much for sharing your insights with us today.
No problem, I've enjoyed it, it's been great.
Okay, a big shout out to you viewers. I hope you enjoyed today's episodes of Photoshop With, and if you haven't already, please do like and subscribe, as we're putting out 5 top tier videos every single week. We're a brand new channel, so we really appreciate your support so far, and if you know anyone else who'll enjoy these vids, a share will go a long way. That's it for this one. I'll catch you at the next video. See you then. Take care, Clinton. See you later, mate.
Bye.